In Greek mythology, Harpies were mythical monsters that had the form of a bird with a human female face, and remembered as the most fearsome monsters. The Harpies were the personification of storm winds, and were the messenger of Hades. Their main mission was to snatch away the children, and the souls of the people. As a part of Storm, each Harpy was ultimately a servant of Zeus. Despite their wild nature, they did the bidding of the god of thunder and followed his commands. The Harpies are generally considered to be the offspring of the ancient sea god Thaumas, and the Oceanid Electra, which would make the Harpies sisters to the messenger goddess Iris. Hesiod, one of the earliest writers, described them as winged women who were notable for their beautiful hair and the speed at which they could fly. The most famous Harpies were Elopus, storm-footed, Nicotho, racing victor, Seleno, black one. Homer also mentions Podaca, the swift-footed, who was the mother of Achilles' horses. In both cases, the Harpies were female creatures who caused mischief and torment wherever they went. When people disappeared mysteriously, the Harpies would be blamed, with people often believing that the disappeared had been snatched away by the winds. The most well-known story of the Harpies occurs in the tale of the Argonauts, when the band of heroes encountered the Harpies as they tormented King Phineus. The story began with King Phineus of Thrace. The gods had blessed him with prophetic powers, but the king showed no respect for the gifts. Zeus resolved to punish him. The punishment faced by Phineus was that, whenever he sat down to a meal, the Harpies would swoop down to steal away the food. This wasn't enough. Zeus took away the man's eyesight, but extended his lifespan, then stranded the blind man on an island. Phineus was constantly plagued by hunger. The Harpies left him only just enough scrap to survive, so that his torment could continue. He eventually had hope for salvation, when Jason and the crew of his ship the Argonauts landed on his island. The king knew the waters of the area well, and promised Jason he would direct them in the best route. All he asked in return was that the visitors kill the Harpies for him. Amongst the Argonauts were the Boreads, the twin sons of the wind god Boreas, who had the ability to fly, and when the Harpies swooped to steal away the food, the Boreads took to the air and drove off the Harpies. The Boreads chased the Harpies as far as the Strophades Islands, at which point goddess Iris intervened, telling they should return to the Argo and leave the Harpies. Iris promised that Phineus would no longer have to fear the coming of the Harpies. Strophades Islands became the new home of the Harpies. The story of Phineus and the Harpies is the most famous story, but they do also make appearance in another famous tale. Harpies are encountered by Aeneas. Aeneas and his followers landed on the Strophades Islands, and they're observing much livestock. As they sat down to the banquet, the Harpies flew down tearing the meal, and befouling the remaining food. Aeneas once again attempted to make sacrifice to the gods, but this time Aeneas and his followers were ready with weapons to hand. Thus, when the Harpies swooped down they were driven off, although the weapons seemed to inflict no harm upon the Harpies. Harpies then cursed Aeneas and his followers, to suffer a period of famine when they reached their destination. Away from their encounters with heroes, the Harpies were also regarded as mother of horses. Xanthus and Balius, the famed immortal horses of Achilles, were considered to be the offspring of the Harpy Pedage and Zephyrus. The Harpies, like many characters in Greek mythology, evolved over time in different tales, beginning as wind spirits, then personified as winged women, and eventually into the monstrous creatures.